Wear a condom, wear a mask.
And wear a clean pair of underwear, because you never know. Do you want to go out with me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Scotty.
And I'm Mike.
And a lot of you seem to ask us questions about relationships and dating, and I'm not a certified dating coach, are you?
No, not yet. But I do have experience.
And if there's anything the internet taught me, it's that if you're not an expert about something, that is all the more reason to make a video series about it.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Here we are. We both have, experience. We are currently in a relationship that's going well, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to be like, I mean, we're in a relationship, it's okay, I guess.
No. And even before us, we both have been
There
around the
was nothing
block.
before us?
We've both been around the block, had many successes, some failures.
Bro, which block?
But I think it's important to learn from each other's experiences.
Maybe something we've experienced and can share with you guys can help someone out there find love, or at least help them nail your next date. In more ways than one, who knows? I don't know.
Hopefully.
Just be safe and stuff. If we did have our own dating service, what would it be called, and what would our slogan be? How to lose a guy in 10 days. Gone in 60 seconds.
Pitched.
So before we get into this, should we talk about our first date?
Sure.
Don't sound so excited, jeez.
No, well, I was
Wow.
trying to think of what technically qualifies as our first date, because it was like a first weekend.
It was a weekend.
Yeah.
It was like a 48-hour date. Mike and I already knew each other. We'd worked together on a TV project. I flew to New York for a long weekend to kind of feel everything
See what's
out.
happening here.
Dates are nerve-wracking enough as it is, but then there was the added element of if this doesn't go well, I'm kind of stuck in a foreign city with this guy.
I wonder if all my friends are like, what are you doing? Like someone's flying in?
Mine actually really encouraged me. Mine were like, yes.
Go for it.
All three of them were just like, yes.
Okay.
All three of them were rooting for me, pom-poms out and everything. I wore my lucky pair of underwear. Everything worked out. It was
Then
great.
got lucky. Everything worked out.
Wow.
Not till marriage, thank you please.
It sucks that I even have to say this, but I definitely think it's worth letting your friends know that you're going on a date. Drop a pin, let them know where you're going to be.
Yeah.
To just kiki and talk about how it went, but just to make sure that you guys are safe.
Yeah, if anything ever feels remotely sketchy or unsafe, text a friend. Even if you think you're overreacting, if you just get a weird vibe, just be safe.
Yeah, just get out of there. Trust your
Text
gut.
a friend.
Use your spidey sense. If it feels weird, it's not worth it. So first things first, show up on time, be nice, be courteous, ask them about themselves. I think a lot of people get nervous sometimes and they just start rambling about A, B, and C, and they forget that there's someone else sitting across from them who also has things to share, and you should want to ask questions about them as well. How do you ask someone out?
Will you go out with me? Social media is just a new type of communication, so you can do a lot of research that way. Hearting back and
Emoji
forth,
work.
engaging, he liked my stuff, and I liked his stuff, so
Yeah.
okay, so I can respond and I don't look desperate. If there's a back and forth and something there, and if you're feeling that, then life is short, go for it. What's the worst that happens? They say no, and then you say you're lost, next, goodbye. You should feel it out, right?
And if it's reciprocated, then you kind of know, okay, maybe they're kind of feeling it, they're throwing it back, and then maybe they'll really throw it back. One of the best ways to kind of feel a situation out is to ask a friend that you trust a lot to kind of feel it out, and maybe doing some investigating and then reporting back. The worst that can possibly happen is they say no, or you get left on red. Neither of which are fun, but it's not the end of the world. Life will go on.
There's 5 trillion people in the world. You might be sad today in this moment, but it's going to pass.
You gonna get over it?
Yeah.
What are your go-to lines when asking someone out? I would keep it simple. It doesn't need to be Shakespeare or R.L. Stein. Just be like, hey, I'd really like to hang out sometime, get to know each other better. Would you want to hang out this Saturday?
Yeah, I think you can keep it super casual. You can just be like, hey, want to grab a drink this weekend? What's your Saturday like? Just start off chill.
Now, this is a fun question. Where should you go on a first date?
Personally, I don't usually like full-on dinners for a first date. I have an exit strategy. If it is a total bust, if it's really not going well and you want an out, I want to be able to wrap it up in an hour or less.
A coffee.
A coffee, a drink, yeah, something just very casual. Also, not a movie. I'm such a movie lover, but not for a date. That's something when you've been together for years. That's a good date. You want to be somewhere where you can actually get to know the person. Otherwise,
Right.
the point.
One thing I'd recommend, especially if you're nervous, is to pick an activity. I know someone who went paddleboarding on a first date this summer, and I also know someone who went like apple picking. Having an activity to do is a great way to just like get the nerves out of the way. It's also a great way to forget about the natural lulls that happen in conversation. Like if you're having dinner with somebody and there's a 5-second moment of silence, it might feel like 5 minutes or 5 hours, and you're just like, oh my god, are they not that into me? Oh my god, what's going on? Whereas if you're like picking apples or something, it's like, it's cool, we're chill. There's even a place in Toronto where you can actually like paint and like have wine together.
I was gonna say that. I think that's such a good idea.
It's a great sort of quirky way to get to know each other better and not have to just stare at each other from opposite sides of the table and just hope that they find you attractive and interesting. Where do you recommend meeting people?
There's a lot of extenuating factors making it trickier to meet people. But actually, that being said, a lot of our friends have met people during quarantine, and it's all thanks to the apps. One in particular that we keep hearing a lot about from our friends, and they seem to be having a lot of success on, is Tammy. Tammy is a dating and social networking app, specifically for LGBTQIA plus people who are looking for, you know, just real connections or even for a relationship.
It's a great place to make friends and find some new dates, and security and privacy is a big priority for them, so you don't have to worry about the sketchy shit.
One of the coolest things, though, is the new Tammy Spot feature, which allows you to, like, when you're traveling, to talk to locals and connect with the people around you. If you're sick of people in your area, you can, like, connect with people, like, in a different country or
make a pen
somewhere
pal.
else in the world.
A virtual pen pal. Ooh, how fun.
I mean, honestly, you got to get creative with things to do during quarantine.
Yeah. Zoom it up, girl.
Definitely recommend Tammy, whether it's, like, a serious relationship or a bit more casual if you just want to meet other people like you.
Yeah.
That's a good place to start.
Obviously, we're still in the middle of a global pandemic, so safety is a top priority, but I recommend meeting people in groups and clubs if you're into running or yoga or hiking or anything like a book club. Even if it's a virtual one, it's a great way to meet people.
Think about like what are your interests and then try and meet people there. Hone in on the communities that like you like to be a part of.
Yo, I like to knit. You like to knit? Like, let's hang out. Put yourself out there. At the very least, you'll learn something about yourself. Best case scenario, you leave with a friend or maybe something more. What should you wear on a first date?
You on your best day.
Wear whatever makes you feel comfortable, but also makes you feel like the best possible version of yourself.
You don't want to go crazy and wear some crazy Moira Rose outfit on your first date if that's not your style. If it goes forward and all of a sudden you're just like showing up in a tank all the time, they're going to be like, wait, who's the guy I thought I met?
Yeah.
You know?
If your goal is to have some sort of long-term friendship or relationship with this person, you're both inevitably not going to be able to maintain this like false persona, so it's better to just kind of present your authentic selves. You want them to like you for who you are, not who you want them to think you are.
So you should have presented your authentic self and wore sweatpants to our first date.
You ain't never lied.
Okay.
I presented my boss instead. Wow.
Wow.
How do you secure a second date?
If you go into it being like, I have to get the second date, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
It's not going to work out. If it goes well, if you guys are vibing, if you're being yourself, feeling comfortable somewhat around each other, it'll grow, you know, it'll lead to a second or third date, you know, so that should not be the priority. Present like who you really are and they can sign up for it or not.
Do you have a funny or worst date story?
It was like a couple dates in, and he was like, I heard about this cool like underground like restaurant where you're blindfolded. It's like a sensory overload thing. You're blindfolded through the whole thing. Nice guy, very charismatic, a bit clumsy. I'm super clumsy, so I totally empathize. But he knocked over like a glass of wine with him like the first like 10 minutes. And everyone goes, oh, bah, you know, and like everyone laughs. The waiter comes over and they're like, don't worry, it happens all the time. It's, you know, it comes with the territory of this experience. Replaces his glass of wine, and then like 5 minutes later he knocks that one over. Long story short, he knocked over 4 glasses of wine,
And they were full of like liquid.
Oh yeah. I don't know if
feel
it was the
bad,
acoustics. The last one, the 4th one, literally the restaurant went silent. Like you could hear a pin drop, and someone was like, "Are you kidding?" I can't even see him, you know, and I'm just like, "Oh, this is fun." Like it was so uncomfortable. Gosh.
Just like sit on your hands.
I just felt so bad because I was like, oh, he's gonna go home and just like think about this and be like, you know.
So my most interesting date happened ages and ages ago. Leading up to the first date, we were kind of texting back and forth, and he kept feeling the need to kind of talk about his fancy friends and boast about this like fancy lifestyle that he allegedly lived.
Via text before the first date?
Yeah.
Dicks.
I'm super regular and down to earth.
You're super regular.
Yeah.
You sure are.
To quote Canadian icon Shania Twain, that kind of stuff don't impress me much. Like, I don't care. I go into Charlie Brown's Peanuts mode and I'm just like, if people feel the need to brag about that kind of stuff, it comes from a place of insecurity. And from my experience, people who actually live those kind of lifestyles don't flaunt it for everyone to see because it's actually who they are. We went to see Avatar, obviously 100 years ago. He was super late and was like, oh, is it cool if you pick up my ticket for me? And I was like, yeah, no problem. Not a big deal. Talk throughout the entire movie, which is kind of a pet peeve of mine, but again, I was like, whatever, not a big deal. And after the movie, he suggested we go to a restaurant in Toronto, which was like definitely kind of fancy, kind of a high-end establishment, especially at the time that like was not in the budget. And I was pretty honest with him, and I was like, hey, like, is it cool if we do something a little more casual? I'm also not really dressed for that sort of place. And he was like, totally cool, like, I know the owner, it'll be fine, like, he'll take care of us, whatever. We show up, he goes up to the hostess and like drops this name, and she just looks at him like, oh my god, like, that is awkward. We managed to get a table. This guy starts ordering like things I can't even pronounce. I don't even know what half this stuff is. During the dinner, he was like giving me life advice.
About what?
I think I had just come out of like a long distance relationship, and he was like telling me that that wasn't like a real thing, and I was like, okay, kind of cool never seeing you again, but like, I'm gonna be polite and finish this dinner. At the end of dinner, the lady came up with the bill. So he like texts his friend who like allegedly works at the restaurant. Guy doesn't respond. He offers to pay, puts this little card in the chip reader, gets declined. Tries it again, gets declined. She's like, oh, no worries, it might just be like the little machine, I'll go get another one. She comes back, third time, gets declined.
Were you hooked up at all? Like, was the bill at least like very discounted?
There was no hookup of any kind.
Yikes.
So I whip out my card and pay for a dinner that
Didn't even want to be at.
Didn't even want to be at. And he was like, oh, like, don't worry, I'll pay you back tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. Offering to, you know, send me home in like a Uber. And I was like,
how's he going to pay for the Uber?
Exactly. I was like, I'm going to take the subway home, but thank you very much for the offer.
Did you ever hear from him again?
Oh, yeah. Every day for the next week, he was texting me asking for like a second date, suggesting that we go to like this fancy place or that fancy place.
Did he pay you back before you asked for the second date?
No, but I would politely kind of bring it up, be like, hey, just so you know,
Are
like,
you kidding?
this is my Venmo. You can PayPal me here if you want. Yeah, as soon as I get home. Never, ever, ever. Actually ran into him 3 years ago.
You owe me money, sir.
Not only that, but I was like, karma got the best of you.
The library is open.
The library is open.
But I think the number one rule in this corny, but I believe in it very strongly, is like the RuPaul phrase. If you can't love yourself, how are you gonna love someone else? You gotta be honest with yourself. If you're not like happy with yourself, if you don't love yourself, you probably aren't in a spot where you should be dating. So maybe focus on that first. Oh, always have Tic Tacs or Listerine strips or gum in your pocket.
That is
always,
a go-to.
always.
Because you might think you're going there for a dinner, but then you go for a stroll afterwards, and you had shrimp tempura, and then it starts to creep up, and you really want to kiss this guy, and you're just like, man, if only I had a Mentos.
You're a catch. Don't go chasing people who don't want you. That's their loss.
Don't do anything you don't want to do, also. Even if
do
the
all the
dates...
things you do want to do.
So that pretty much does it for dating advice.
That's what we got. We're not saying we're professionals,
At
but
all.
this worked out somehow, so that's our experiences.
Yeah. So hopefully it can help someone out there find some love, get lucky, make some new friends, all the above. You gotta kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince.
It's true.
If you enjoyed watching the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave your dating tips in the comments below.
Or any more questions.
And we should be back with another pretty okay video pretty darn soon. Thanks for watching, guys.
Goodbye.
Peace.